Infrastructure as being the big connecting link between how we create jobs in the United States and how we solve the issue of climate change. You know, the infrastructure that we have today, a lot of it was built in the 19th century, and you know you can't fix a 21st century and environmental problem with a 19th century infrastructure that caused it in the first place. So that's the work that we've been trying to do. Look at how America's failing infrastructure, its bridges, its roads, its gas pipelines, its electrical grid, its water systems from top to bottom is not what it ought to be. And you'll hear tomorrow from the American Society of Civil Engineers just how bad it is. And you'll hear from the Utility Workers Union just how tough it is to keep those systems working. But if we went out and repaired them all today, we'd be creating the 11 million jobs America needs. And if we went out and fixed it today, we'd be pulling the carbon pollution out of the atmosphere that's causing the wacky weather we live in. We've got Leo Gerard, Mike Broom, Jim Harrison, Mark Norberg, and Rick Turvin to engage in a conversation about what's working and what's not working as we try to build a movement in the United States to put people back to work and solve our environmental problems. And to kick this conversation off, I'm going to turn to the person who, you know, nobody here needs an introduction probably to all the folks in the room since we've had this conversation before. But Leo Gerard, the president of the United Steelworkers Union, has been a champion, as all of you in the union know, of the basic idea that educating our members, educating leaders in other organizations, politicians, the administration in Washington, that you don't have to choose between good jobs and a clean environment.
It's a huge challenge. I was on a call the other day with Michael and some other folks, and one of the reporters on the call tried to focus in on the things we don't agree together on. And I couldn't help but get upset. Because if you look at the things we do agree on, and the things we could mobilize for, the amount of carbon we would take out of the air, the efficiency we'd bring, the millions of jobs we'd bring, and I can almost pick any item you want. The energy grid, we lose 10 to 15% of the energy we put on the grid. How stupid is that? We have 60% of the schools, or backwards, maybe 50% of the schools in America that are more than 60 years old. That means they're using antiquated heating and cooling systems. That means that our kids aren't in the best learning environment. We have something like 86,000, if my memory's right about that, we have 86,000 bridges in America that are deficient, that fall below D grade. We all watched what happened in the Verrazano Bridge. We all saw what happened with the bridge in San Francisco to Oakland, built with Chinese steel, 10 years over budget, and 10 years delayed and $6 billion over budget. How stupid is that? I mean, let's go through a bunch of stupidity. That we have, someone gave me a note, we have over 4,000 dams that are deficient. I was just talking to one of our brothers. Instead of fixing the dams, we're having insurance companies jack up flood insurance 5, 10, 15, and 20%. That puts not only our towns in jeopardy to pay the flood insurance, puts our plants in jeopardy to pay the flood insurance. So the things that we agree on, the things that all of us in this room should be fighting for, is to really start a major program of fixing the infrastructure. And the numbers are huge. The numbers are huge. We're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood right today of $3.6 trillion to fix the infrastructure. You're not going to do that over 6 weeks or 6 months or 6 years. But we ought to put a program together, start retrofitting our schools, start retrofitting our public buildings, start fixing our bridge. And we all have to have a fight that ought to be made in America.
That's right.
You make that with the products that we make here. The products you make here. Think about all the retrofitting we could do of public buildings, the joint partnerships you can do in private buildings, making them energy efficient. You do all of that work, and when you think about that, that's going to bring R&D. That's going to have things going on in our universities about how are the best heating and cooling systems, what's the best windows design. I mean, I now know that we got a company that makes flat glass that can have an insulating quality. It can keep the warm air in the winter and keep the cool air in the summer. Do those kind of things. Retrofitting, we had to walk the walk, and so we decided that we're going to retrofit our building, and now we're going to make it a LEED certified building. That's going to cost the union $6 million. In Maine, it's costing $70 per MMBTU. In Louisiana, it's $4. What do you think is going to happen to our paper mills in Maine? Why do we tolerate that? And if it happens up and down the New England coast, where will it go to next? And while they're playing games and trying to find the places they can keep us divided on, and we're going to disagree on some stuff. But there's so much more that we agree on. 95% of it we agree on. And I think everybody at this table, every meeting that we have in BGA, when we talk about these things at our executive committee, there's unanimous agreement we got to do these things. What's lacking? Political will and mobilization. That was one of the reasons we created Blue-Green. We created it because we wanted to stop the bullshit, to be blunt, that you can't have both good jobs and a clean economy. I grew up in a town that was the pollution capital of North America, and I had our employer tell us that while I was growing up. Eventually, the union made them clean it up, and you know what? It's still there, and it's paying good jobs, it's a cleaner environment. So it's not one or the other, it's both or neither over time. So, David, I could go on for 2 more days, but I'm just starting to get unwound here. I'm really pissed off about all this.